staying with us. For the latest from the Tshwane National Operations Center, we're going to cross through to our senior reporter, Mzwandile Mbeje, Ushandu Ugandaba. No sleep for the wicked, hey? Zoe?
Well, you can see here behind me, Desiree, we are about to cross the finish line. So the hard work that has been done over the past few days is getting to be finalized. We have just had a look at the board now. We see that the percentage of the votes that have been posted is 99.93. So which basically means we are left with about half a percentage. And in our own calculations, but I'm stressing this, our own calculations, it looks like it will be 12 parties that will make it to the National Assembly. And interestingly, Desiree, I think ATM is likely to make it with a possibility of about 2 seats. And of course, Good is also said to make its entrance into Parliament. And of course, there will be the old ones that might not make the cut. But remember, once everything has been concluded, so those votes of the parties that don't make it, so somehow they have a formula of counting them and calculating them, so and allocating them to the parties that would have made it to Parliament. And then it may be possible that out of what we are seeing now, there could be one or even possibly 2 other parties that do make it to Parliament. Perhaps the other thing, Desiree, that I may just speak about is that the small parties yesterday had threatened to take the IEC to the Electoral Court if it does not appoint the independent firm that will conduct the audit into the results. You know, in the past few days, they've been complaining, saying the process was not fair, and then they feel they have been robbed. And many of them say they, as far as they know, they deserve to have seats in parliaments, but when they look at the scoreboard there, so that is not happening. So that is the situation now. And as for the ruling party, Desiree, it has just breached that psychological mark of 10 million votes, so which I think psychologically it does boost them. But of course, you would know that in reality they have dropped. I mean, if we did our own count earlier, they probably will get something like 232 votes, so which will be a decrease from 249 that they had. The party really that has gained is the EFF. The conservative estimates give us anything between 15 and 18 votes, and of course EFF plus as well, FF plus as well, so has gained. But we wait for the conclusion of this process, and then we'll be able to give you more updates. So we're hoping, Desiree, again, to speak to the CEO of the IEC, Saima Mabulo, basically to tell us, are they still going ahead with the announcement of the result in light of the threats that have been issued by the smaller parties. So we hope to be able to bring you that perhaps around 11 or just after 11.
Mzwai, you're saying that in reality the ruling party has dropped, and actually, when you look at it in terms of numbers, they have dropped. But analysts have been saying, if you look at the narrative, and this is what the ANC election organizer, Fikile Mbalula, was saying, that they actually have done really well, taking the circumstances into consideration.
Well, it's understandable, and the context from which they are telling us that kind of information is perfectly understandable. They've been going through a number of challenges, the infighting, factionalism, and a whole lot of service delivery protests. So with all those challenges combined, and remember, all of those were directed at the governing party. I mean, even some people basically urging others to say, don't go vote because we are not being served what we had been promised. So in that context, you understand that they would feel they have done well. But Desiree, this is what is important in this. You tend to compare the performance of this election to the previous elections. If you look at the 2014 election, the ANC scored 62% votes, and now they are sitting at 57%. So that is definitely a drop. And then, of course, if you go back to 2009, they then scored they scored 66%. So, and then they dropped. So you are seeing a trend where the party is dropping due to a lot of challenges, the internal fights, service delivery challenges, a number of issues really that are affecting the party. But of course, you know that they are engaged in a process of renewal. I think the president of the party calls it the New Dawn. So this New Dawn basically seeks to resuscitate the fortunes of this governing party. So the fact that everyone somehow had in inverted commas, written it off, and then they've performed this well. So you can understand why they are happy. Let's look at Gauteng again, Desiree. When you look at the local government elections, the ANC in this province got about 45%, so which means it dipped below 50%, and then that's a loss in terms of election. So that is why the opposition parties were saying whatever the situation, so they will make sure that they will bring the ruling party below 50%, because they were looking at the election results. All right? Well, the latest that I had heard, remember that 53 and 50.1 at Desiree are interchanging, but I think the very latest is 50.1. I think that's the very, very latest that they have scored. So why I was speaking about Gauteng at Desiree, because everyone had been saying, given their performance in the local government elections, I mean, they got 45% here in Gauteng. So I think many parties felt they were a fair game, but that they have been able to retain the control of this province, which was highly contested. So basically, is a feather, I guess, in their cap.
Mzwandile, you're standing on the election floor, and one of the activities that are happening today is that IEC officials are running to make sure that they finalize all the complaints and the objections before we get to the announcement of the final result this evening. What sense are you getting from your interactions with IEC officials on the floor? Are they able to respond to most of the complaints and the objections? Of course, this is separating the main concerns of the coalition of the smaller parties.
Absolutely. I think the reason why the elections will only be announced at 6 o'clock, Desiree, is to allow for all those objections, is to allow for that process to unfold, for whoever is objecting to whatever issue is being dealt with, is being addressed. That is why it's going to take a bit of time to announce the results formally at 6 o'clock. In fact, I did have a quick word with the IEC CEO, who basically said as far as their arrangements are concerned, so they are announcing the results today. As I was saying earlier, we are hoping to be able to get him on camera, and so he can be able really to take us into give us a clear picture as to what will be happening. But from the sense that one is getting here is that it's all systems go. At 6 o'clock, we'll know exactly who got what in Parliament.
Just on a lighter note, I found something on the net, somebody saying that their final election analysis is that the people of South Africa gave the ANC one last chance. If they don't use it wisely in the next 5 years, they won't govern in the next 10 years. The EFF did well, especially in provinces. The DA is the biggest loser, and the Freedom Front Plus really won the lottery. Do you agree with this?
Let me tell you my characterization. So that is partly true what they are saying. So the ANC was given maybe the last chance, as you say. I won't dispute that. But the EFF is the biggest winner in this election. Look at KZN alone, Desiree. In 2014, they garnered only 70,000 votes. Today, they are standing at around 350,000 votes. That is massive. As for the Democratic Alliance, they had set themselves the target of at least 34%. If they couldn't do that, they had looked at 30, and they had said if they even fail to do that, perhaps they'll be at around 25. Look where they are only at 20%. So that characterization may not be far off.
You spoke to the Democratic Alliance leader yesterday in that media scrum, and it was interesting that as happy he was as he was that they were retaining the Western Cape, he was saying that his focus now is on the next election. Is this a good decision for him? And with all those rumors flying around that he might be removed from the party?
You know, Desiree, when we spoke to him, you could get a sense that he is really disappointed by the results that have come out. And then we asked, so are you sure you're still going to be at the helm of this party? Of course, he said he was going to be at the helm of the party. But in some of the interactions with the senior leaders of the DA, when we asked someone like James Selfer to say, are they confident that my money will continue? He says it is up to the party. It's very interesting what's going to be happening to the DA. I mean, no one knows at this stage. The fact of the matter is they failed to achieve their set objectives. So will there be any justification to have him as the leader? It's anyone's guess.
Interesting outcome, Mzwai, is the out-of-country result. And this is the election that was run on the 27th of April. The DA coming out with 74.45% of that vote, the ANC 10.83%, and the Freedom Front Plus with 4.57%. Speak to us about this outcome.
Well, Desiree, if you've been following what has been happening outside the country, most people who have left the country either to seek greener pastures or they are basically relocating for whatever reason. So it's been mainly people who support the opposition, and in this instance, the DA. Even if you look at the results of 2014, it's not so much different from this one. In fact, I think in 2014, they may have scored something like 90% at the opposition. So it does appear that the experts would rather have the opposition as government versus the governing party.
Mzwai will continue to talk to you as we try to count down to the election result announcement later on this evening around 6 p.m. Let's now go to